It's good to be with you on this Sunday morning, which is the 15th and last day of the Lunar New Year celebration. The 15th day of the Lunar New Year is the first full moon, as well as the Lantern Festival. And as I mentioned before, it's the year of the rabbit. You may assume that I've been observing these customs since I was a small child, but that is not the case. When my immigrant parents came to the U.S. and began raising me, they decided to completely assimilate, to become American, which meant European. At that time, the borders to China were slammed shut due to Mao's Cultural Revolution. Letters and phone calls were strictly forbidden. I can only imagine the stress and heartbreak it caused my mom and dad not to know of the welfare of their parents, siblings, and families as huge political changes occurred, because they never shared their worries with me. I think they felt they would never be able to return home again. The result was to adopt the United States as their permanent home and culture, which meant abandoning their customs, like Chinese New Year, and choosing not to bring me up speaking Chinese. Plus, they were fortunate to be fluent in English. They didn't want me to be seen as lesser than or having an accent. Yet there were problems with this. My mother didn't know how to celebrate American holidays. For example, she hadn't learned the significance of having a Christmas tree, or why gifts for children were important, and who was Santa Claus, anyways. And why was it important to be with family on Thanksgiving? As a result, I grew up cultureless. I learned about Lunar New Year through being an Asian American Studies at UC Davis, working as a teacher in San Francisco, reading, and of course, Google. These days, I've learned to observe both American as well as Chinese customs. I think it's vitally important to pass the non-mainstream cultural practices down to the next generation, so they have an understanding of their identities in their Asian American cultures and grow up proudly multicultural. There has been a tragic and traumatic beginning to the Lunar New Year. Often, the two events of Lunar New Year and Black History Month seem to bump up against each other. The mass shootings in Monterey Park and Half Moon Bay and the horrific beating death of Tyree Nichols have occurred in close proximity to each other. As a member of the AAPI community, I believe this calls us to build bridges between our groups. Rather than separating these incidents, let's work together to find commonalities. Perhaps the mental health of these men, two older Asian male shooters, and the officers in Memphis is at issue here. I certainly think that they have been influenced by the model minority myth, Asian patriarchal culture, and internalized toxic white male supremacy. In my opinion, they all need therapeutic help to break these destructive cycles. I pray that they are able to face the family members of those they harmed and take responsibility for their brutality. As we listen to this next hymn, I Know I've Been Changed, I suggest that we consider something that we can do today to build a bridge, to create strong, supportive communities, and break these devastating cycles. Thank you.